Okay, so we're recording. Hey everybody, I'm Susanna Johnson with Slay Sisters, here with Suzanne, who is also a Slay Sister, and we're going to be broadcasting this on our YouTube and then also our Slay Sister podcast. So no matter where you're at, wherever you're listening or viewing this, hi and welcome. We're so glad you're here. So pull up a seat, come and sit at our table as we just start talking about topics that are truly relevant to women, stuff that we're just going to dig into, and we want you to be a part of this conversation, and that's what we're going to have. We're having a conversation. Are you ready, Suzanne?
I'm ready.
Okay, so Suzanne is a Slay Sister, and what is really cool about this, and you can find out more about Slay Sisters later, we'll send you there, but we have this mentorship and we talk a lot about mindset. And Suzanne was like, hey, I raised my hand. I want to talk about mindset too, because I think that you and I, Suzanne, come from same places. And we're also going in a direction of growth and understanding. So I was going to introduce you, but then I just thought last minute, I'm like, no, you know what? I want her to introduce herself. So Suzanne, tell everybody a little bit who you are and why you're excited about this topic.
Okay, well, obviously I'm Suzanne. I'm 39, a single woman living in Florida. I am a targeted case manager, which is basically just a social worker, helping people. That's my passion. I got my degree in elementary education, and life told me that that wasn't what I wanted exactly, and then I fell upon what I do now. And then in my personal life, I'm always helping people. It's just what I love. I love to help make people's lives better. So that's why I'm really excited about this topic, because in order to get our lives better, we got to get our mindset right.
I know. And it's one of the things that I wish I knew when I was younger.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I always heard like, you got to work on you first, but I never really understood what that meant exactly. I don't know if you felt the same way.
Yes.
And it's hard because sometimes you have to go through some really crappy stuff in order to start understanding. So unfortunately, if you haven't gone through a lot of life's harshness yet, get ready, because it's it's coming so that you can grow, is how I feel. So I don't know if you feel the same way, girl.
For sure.
For sure. So mindset, that's one of the things we talk about in Slay Sisters. In fact, we do have a course on that, which is cool. And I know you've been through that course, but we're not going to talk about the course. What I want to talk about and get your perspective on is if you were to, we were just talking about, we just said that, if when we were younger, we wish we knew this. So let's just dial it back. If you were to go back, like just say a year ago, or maybe even 2 years ago, where would you say, like, how you felt about your mindset?
I definitely thought that like I was super positive and that I was always trying to grow. I felt like I knew I was self-aware, and that is definitely true. I'm self-aware, but I don't think I was allowing my mind to be exactly what it was. I had a lot of blocks, and I wasn't really growing the way I needed to grow.
So when you said that you were self-aware that were you aware that you had blocks, or was it something you didn't realize until later?
Right. No, I wasn't really aware that I had blocks. I'm aware of my issues, the things I need to deal with, the things I need to work through and grow on. I was aware of certain tools of how to do that, and I thought I was. So, I've had some therapy over the years. I've worked with other people, and I thought I was right there. And
okay, so walk me through that, because so why did you feel like you were right there? Because we're going to get into where you are now, but so looking back a year or 2 years ago, and you're like, okay, I'm right where I need to be. So what made you feel that you were?
I was in a decent place in life. It wasn't 100% where I needed to be or where I thought I was. I had grown a lot. I was a lot more positive, because I used to be a really negative person at one point in my life.
How so?
Yeah, nobody wanted to be around me. Everything I posted on social media was pretty negative. I put out way too much of the harshness, and I was a Debbie Downer at points and times. So When I discovered you and Slay Sisters and how to work on my mindset, it's just, I started thinking, am I really where I need to be? Am I really like of a growth mindset right now?
Was that like sobering to look at and say, am I really where I need to be? I know that I felt that way too, where I thought I was so growth mindset. It's like my mindset is great. And then the more I took a step back, kind of looked at myself from the outside, like looking down on myself, I was like, I don't know that I am.
That's exactly where I was at. And some of the things that I was doing to work on it, I don't think I was putting everything into it. I think I didn't believe much in the techniques, and because they weren't working.
Okay, so what, if you don't mind me asking, what were you trying before? Because I think I've done everything, and I always want to say, like, what were you doing that you thought maybe was working? And then, like you said, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you kind of said it, where you were like, I'm kind of half-assing this.
Right. Well, I mean, stuff I was taught in therapy, ways of coping and visualizing. I would take time and I would sit and I would visualize things. And it seemed really like weird. I don't know how else to put it. My aunt is a life coach. She's all about releasing negativity and then bringing in the positivity. And I would feel really good when I did that in the moment.
Right.
And maybe the rest of the day. And then the next day or so, it was like all back to the same old.
The same old, the Debbie Downer. You said that like your stuff on social media was like, and we all know people like that. I think every single one of us has somebody on social media that we follow. You're like, will you just say something positive? And I don't think any of us want to be that person, that Debbie Downer. I mean, you don't go into it being like, I want to be that Debbie Downer.
Right. And then people tell you that you're that, and you're like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm a happy, positive person.
Right. I'm so positive. I got all of my shit together. So the problem must be you. Like,
right.
What is your problem? Okay. So what was it that made you kind of have your eyes open? I don't want to say like awakened, because I don't think you were asleep, but when you said, okay, it's time for a change, it's time for me to start working on this, was there, and it's okay if there isn't, but like, was there a particular, like anything that happened that you realized that you needed to make a change, or was it just, calling on your heart to do that?
Well, at that time in my life, I was working on my physical health in a gym where it's all about uplifting. It's called Lift. So it's lifting others. And we were getting a lot of support in that way. And I was at a certain couple months in, and I was entered this challenge, and there was people that were brand new to the game, and they would always give me all these, oh my gosh, you look so great, or you're doing so well, or you can do that move. And my responses would always be negative. You immediately find something wrong with yourself instead of saying thank you.
So when you get a compliment, you would be like, okay, thanks, but.
Right.
Oh my gosh, I can relate. Yep.
Right. And then I was just watching you on social media and noticing your changes. And there was a group that we did, a mindset group, and I joined that.
That was fun.
And then I was like, holy crap, this is where I'm at. I am not all there yet. I'm not confident in myself yet like I thought I was. Okay. My mindset isn't at all where I thought it was, or I wouldn't be responding that way. I would simply say thank you and move on from it instead of immediately pointing out the negative.
That is something I think so many people do. And in fact, probably many people listening to this right now, or watching this right now if they're on YouTube, is saying, yeah, I probably do that daily. If somebody gives me a compliment, I try to downplay it.
Right.
Which doesn't really have much to do with confidence. It's really, I think it's more of a mindset.
Right.
Because, well, you can't get to confidence until you work on the mindset first.
Exactly.
I think, I feel that way. It's like a domino effect. So let's fast forward, because I know you. Disclaimer, guys, I know Suzanne, that's why she's on here. It's like, I know that you put in a lot of work, over, say, an entire year. This isn't something that just, like you said, you work on it really good for a day and then you're right back to it. You've spent a lot of time and highs and lows, I think you'd agree too, as far
Mhm.
as working on your mindset. So if you were to look at it now, where is your mindset versus where you were a year ago?
I am completely in a different mindset. Like you said, there are ups and downs. I suffer from anxiety. So I hate saying it like that. It's a part of me. So there's always moments and
You
times where that
you
happens.
actually, hold on. You actually just flipped that and so quick with saying, I hate to say that, it's a part of me. If anybody's listening, watching this, I want you to go back, rewind back, and watch her face and listen to her voice when she just did that. Because Suzanne, I got to give you like virtual high fives this year, because that was great. Because that's the practice in action right there. Okay, sorry to interrupt, but
That's okay. So I had a big moment at the end of last year where I just couldn't get my stuff together again. There was something sitting on me and weighing on me, and I stopped. Wasn't completely done working on my mindset, but I kind of took a pause, a little pivot there. And finally, when I realized, okay, hey, what's going on, got back into it. And it was at that moment, like when I got back into it, I was like, oh, I know what was going on. I was putting too much pressure on myself. I need to just slow down.
Mm,
So, and then still that's still huge growth, because I'd been 8, 9 months in at that point.
right.
And jumped right back in. And right now, as of today, sitting, I did a vision board. I've been visualizing those goals. New goals are coming up through that. I'm actually taking action
Yeah.
all the time, all the time. And I'm thinking, like, even now, a year down the road, because those goals are like here in the next 6 months, a year down the road, I have some other goals, and I'm starting to go ahead and not too much, because I don't want to overwhelm myself, but prepare those things that I need to do.
Laying down the groundwork.
Yeah.
It's there. I love what you were talking about with the pivot. Insert Friends reference, but because I know that you and I have talked about that too, and I've experienced that. I think so many people do, because we can't go 80 miles an hour down the freeway all the time. Like, we have to slow down, we have to turn. And a lot of times, if we've been conditioned in the mindset of the only way to grow is to just hit it hard all the time, you're going to burn yourself out. And with that comes where we just end up stopping entirely and not moving forward. So, what is the biggest difference, since, like you just said, like, it's so much, you just feel so much better, and you're able to take that time and slow down and reevaluate and come back to it? So what is the biggest difference, that, because I can see it on you, but I truly want to know what that feels like inside for you, the biggest difference from maybe even just a year ago to now when it comes to your mindset?
I think it's just I've gained more awareness. And my big word is happiness this year, because I want to work more on it, but I'm happy. I'm happy with who I am. It's not 100%, and that's okay, but I was maybe at 50%
Really?
last year, and now I'm probably sitting around 80, 90%. I think that's huge.
That is huge.
And in that, I'm building confidence in myself. And I've given myself grace.
Yeah.
And that's huge.
It is huge. And you probably give, and because you're giving yourself grace, you probably give others more grace as well.
Mm-hmm.
There was even times, I wasn't even going to talk about this, but it just popped into my head, and we are unfiltered and Slay Sisters, so we just go with it. One of the things that I noticed, and these are like practical things that I think anybody could put into play. I remember you talking about how you were on the phone. You were trying to get an issue resolved. Do you remember this? This was months, months and months ago.
Yes.
That normally I would have let this ruin my day. I would have let it really upset me. I would have yelled and screamed on the phone. I would have been really angry. It probably would have gotten my way, yes, but it would have ruined my entire day, probably my week. You're like, I'm going to be firm. I'm going to be calm. I'm going to come at this with a growth mindset of this is going to work out the way that it was supposed to. And you hung up and were like, it wasn't, it was still stressful, but you let it go.
Right. No, I remember that. And I've had a couple more of those phone calls since that I've even recently that I've had to deal with. And I do, I handle things in a totally different way now. There's no reason to be that person. I'm not nasty anymore about it, because that affects the other person's day. And then it's done, it's over with, move on.
Deuces. And and that's like another thing that I wanted to ask you about, because it's one thing that I noticed too. This was weird. I don't know. So for instance, like I'm going through this transition of not coloring my hair, right? So my grays are coming in, and I've noticed that ever since my gray hair started coming in, I'm noticing more and more people with gray hair because it's like when we focus on something about ourselves, we notice that more in others.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're working on mindset too, the kind of the same thing happens. I think that we become more aware of other people's mindsets, people we surround ourselves with. Oh, I hear a dog. That's cool.
Because someone rang the doorbell.
That's why this is unfiltered and I love it.
And at this point, we scream at her, but she will stop eventually on her own.
Well, one of the things that I noticed even with growth mindset was that I would notice when people were in growth mindset, and I would notice it when they were in a fixed mindset, which you can Google about that, or we talk about it in Slay Sisters too. Was that something that once now that you got into the work, you started doing the work yourself, that you were noticing about like family, coworkers? You don't have to name names, but did you notice that and where people were at?
No, completely. 100% I notice it. I notice it with everybody.
It's crazy. Even strangers.
Coworkers, family, friends, people I don't care for, like everybody, people I meet in the grocery store, because I talk all the time to everybody. I'm always talking. So, and making new friends, or just talking to the person next to me in the grocery store. Yeah. And I notice it, because I start those conversations, and then you get to talking about a topic, and I totally know where their mindset is at.
Well, you can almost tell, this is what's crazy, is once you start doing this work, you can pretty much tell in somebody's first sentence. Mm-hmm. Like you don't even need to see their face to find out if they're sad or if they're happy. Like you can really tell in like that first sentence, and you can say with their tone. Something as simple as when we ask somebody how their day is.
Right.
Or how are you? That first sentence, it's either defeating or it's empowering. And so that's one thing that I think I know that you did that work on, and that's something that probably people could take away and even start doing today. How are you answering that question when somebody asks you how you're doing today?
Right.
Are you being empowering or defeating? Like that takes some like gut work to be like, well, and that doesn't mean, I don't know, you might disagree with me, Suzanne, and that's fine too. But like, I don't feel like if you're having like a really shitty day, to be like, oh, I'm amazing. Don't lie. Like you don't have to lie about having a shitty day. If somebody asks you how you're doing, but you could also just turn it around and just be truthful and like, you know what? I am alive. I've got some stuff going on in my life, but so do you. How are you doing today? And turn it around to them would be such a better way of like, yeah, I'm having a really shitty day. Nobody wants to hear that. We all have shitty days.
You know where else I notice it? Your friends that you have, that you see or talk to on a daily basis, and then their social media.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes and different things, right?
Two completely things. Like people think their lives are fantastic. And then you're like, hey, how are you doing? And you get the want, like constant. So, and
or you recognize that. You probably recognize that because you were doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, I know it because I've done that,
right.
Been there, done that. And I just think that is is so neat. So would you, I mean, I know my stance, but I'm asking you because I want to like grow and I want to learn from you. Is this something that you are always probably going to have to work on? Is mindset or be cognizant of or pay attention to?
I think that the mind is something that does need to be worked on all the time, because if you stop and you're like, yep, I'm there, something can come in life and come at you hard. And if you're not doing that work, so easy to backslide. And I know because I put in a lot of work a couple years ago and I was in a better place, not a perfect place, but a better place. And then I stopped, completely stopped. And then life happened and I went right back down. Now, I wouldn't say that you go all the way back to the beginning where you originally started, but you know, it's like, I understand taking 2 steps back, but I took 100.
Yeah. And then when you do that, I think you open up space, you create space for like this really negative energy to come in because it thrives on that. It thrives on inactivity. And you were just saying you are doing the action. You're actually like creating this momentum. And that's not to say that you're going and you're going to burn yourself out, but that your mind is constantly working because we're not the same people we were even 6 months ago. Our ideas are different. At least they should be.
Right.
You know, and a lot of people will just like sit in this state and they say, oh, what's that expression that I can't stand? It is what it is. Can't stand it. That's a fixed mindset. And people say,
yes, we've talked about that a lot.
The time, it is what it is. So so tell people, because I know what I say, but tell people like how we switch that.
It is what it is, but what are you going to do to fix it?
Mm-hmm. Or does it have to be that way?
Or exactly.
And that's actually a great question. Not only can you ask yourself, but if there's somebody you feel comfortable saying that to the next time that they say it is what it is, then say, well, but does it have to be that way? Because in some situations, what the situation is the situation. Okay. There's maybe nothing you could do to actually change the fact that like maybe you have to be at your 9-to-5 job today. You have to be there for the whole time, right? Might be shitty, and you might not like it, but you literally have to be there. So that is what it is. But does it have to stay that way? Meaning, do you have control over maybe creating a plan where you don't be there? You know, or that relationship that you're in, maybe that relationship, oh, well, it is what it is. Well, they're just like that. Okay, well, you can't change them, but can you change you? Does it have to be like that? Do you have to be in that relationship? These are hard questions, but something that we have to ask ourselves if we're looking to grow and expand, I feel.
Right. And I've been having those conversations with people, especially when, yeah, I've been having them. And I know that their mindset is so fixed because we have that conversation, we go through that, and then a couple days goes by and it's the same thing. So, you know, and I've learned you can only help people that want to help themselves. So I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to remind them. I'm going to show them by my actions. You know, I'm throwing that all out there. This is who I am. This is how I do it. And if they choose to then one day wake up and be like, what exactly are you doing? Tell me about it. I'll be all there, you know, but those people in my lives that are very fixed mindset and aren't quite where they need to be, I don't want to, you know, because it's about you. We want to have like-minded people. There's some people we love so much. So we just put them a little aside, you know, and once you get
out,
right, you just put them a little aside and hope that one day, you know, they're going to be there. They're going to have their aha moment, and they may never, and that's okay. We can still love people, but have a distance.
I love that. I love that a lot. That's really good because you are going to have relationships that are always going to be, there's relationships that are seasonal, meaning that they're just there for a season. There are relationships that are there all the time, but they have their high seasons and they have their low seasons. You know, people that will lean on you more and be more a part of your life, and other people that kind of need to have their space. But it is important as you're going through growth to recognize that somebody who isn't going through growth at one point might take that journey. And how amazing would it be for you to also to be there to
Right.
help guide them? Because if you're not and you just like cut them off, I don't know if that's living in a growth way. You might not engage with them while they're in their Debbie Downer phase, but sure should be there when they're going through their growth phase. Because I know that I appreciated people being there for me when I was going through mine. I don't know if I would have gotten to this place if I didn't have people that were there, you know?
Yes.
So that was really, really important. I hope people got takeaways from that, because like that's amazing. So is there anything like in closing, as we close out this conversation, that you wanted to bring to the table? Maybe something I didn't ask?
No, I think we covered everything. I mean, there's so much more. You can dig into this whole mindset so much more, but I think that's something for if people think they're ready
Yeah, to dig in.
to ask.
Yeah.
To ask.
And I feel like too that it's scary to ask. You know, it's scary to lean in, especially for women. We feel like, well, we should be able to get all of this figured out. And the thing is that you're never going to have it all figured out. You're never, ever, ever. And I love surrounding myself with all different kinds of women that are going through growth in different areas of their lives, because I find, like with you, you help me grow in an area that somebody else can't help me grow, and vice versa. And especially for women need women, and we need to have different experiences and surround ourselves with women that come from different backgrounds. And that's also, diversity is what truly helps us grow as well. If you're always around the same ideas and the same mindset, I don't know if we really open up and can see things from different perspectives, and different perspectives help us to grow too.
Right.
So I honor you, and I am so thankful. I'm so grateful that you decided to be in this conversation with me, Suzanne.
Well, thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. So thanks you guys for tuning in, and we will be talking to you on the next Slave Sister broadcast.